Hello dear student friends. In the previous lecture, we have discussed regarding the ecological succession. It was also referred as the ecosystem development. And today we will see the hydrosere as an example of the development of the communities on the water level, water surface. So in the previous lectures, we have seen some of the definitions, some of the concepts. In the primary succession, there is development of the complete community with the 6 developmental stages out of one. Nudation is not there in case of the primary succession. Now, as far as the secondary succession is concerned, here it is the primary succession. In case of the secondary succession, there will be complete nudation. Here you will find that volcanic eruption have completely diminished the level of organisms. Every level of the organism is now cleared. Now, after passing few years, this volcano will be cooler, and then some time will be there that some of the pioneer species will arrive in this area and then they will develop. Similar things will happen in case of the glaciers also. This glaciers will completely cover the area and that cover will degrade the organisms present in that area. And in case of such kind of areas, there will be the secondary succession. And finally, primary or secondary succession, every succession will reach to the climax community. So in case of the community development, let me come to the final level and quote one example. In case of your syllabus, there are two examples of the ecological successions. One is the hydrosere and other is the xerosere. In case of hydrosere, this hydrosere is the development in the water bodies, whereas xerosere is the development of the deserts. Finally, whatever is the process, it is very clear that the pond will turn into the forest in the hydrosere, whereas the desert will transform into the forest in case of the xerosere. So hydrosere, let me understand what is the hydrosere. Hydrosere is the development of the community on the ponds or any water body. So in case of the hydrosere, there is the gradual conversion of the ponds and the lakes or the any water body into the forest ecosystem. So this change will be gradual change, and definitely this will require some sort of changes which will be providing the soil conditions in the particular lakes, and these will be possible when some sediments will enter into the pond or that particular water body, which will allow some seeds to germinate, and then therefore once the seeds will germinate, then it will establish the plants, then reeds, grasses, shrubs, and finally the trees. This is so simple that it is the way in which the serial development will be there. Serial development, look at the term. Here I am saying them as the serial stages. Serial stages means these are the stages in which new community is introducing. New individuals are coming into existence. They are called as the serial stages. Serial, hydrosere, and in the hydrosere, first serial stage is the plankton stage. Plankton stage, rooted submerged stage, rooted floating stage, reed swamp stage, sage meadow stage, then woodland stage, and finally the forest stage. As these terms may be quite difficult to understand yet, but let me go through the pictures. You will find it very clear. Look at this first figure. In that first figure, you will find that, let me magnify the screen for you. Here it is the pond, and in that pond, the basal area is now having the addition of the sediments. As the water will flow, it will carry soil with it and it will reach to the pond. And as a result of that addition of the sediments to the pond, there is increase in the soil level, and accordingly Look at this. Here there was very less amount of the lotus, but here it is the greater amount of plants, and some of the new plants are coming out of the soil. And finally, look at this final stage wherein the soil is coming to the surface. As these plants and animals will dead, their debris will deposit, and eventually the fertile soil will establish, and this soil will now allow the plants to grow on that surface. And once the grasses will develop, it will be replaced by herbs will be replaced by shrubs will be replaced by trees. So this is the way in which the complete development of the ecosystem is there. Look at this. This is the first community which is there in the, let me see the lens. Here it is the first soil less situation. First stage, if the soil is available, then submerged plants will be there. Submerged plants means these are the rooted submerged. The roots are there and they are completely underwater. Floating leaved ones. These are the rooted floating hydrophytes. This means that the seeds are germinated and their leaves are coming onto the water surface. If such plants are developed, definitely this will not allow these plants to survive hereafter. So there will be a huge population of such plants in this water body. And once these plants will be dying and decaying, there will be further changes and the reed swamp plants will be there. Reed swamp plant means what? This is the kind of the sludge developed into the area, and therefore marshy place will be there, and in that marshy places little larger plants will be developing. That is called as the reed swamp stage. And then marsh meadow. Marsh meadow means here it is the very less amount of water and the plants are quite sturdy. These plants are not very tall, but this is the plant which is having the secondary vasculature too. Well developed vasculature systems are there in the marsh meadow. And then next to this is the woodland stage. And finally, the climax stage. Climax stage means this is the forest stage. So overall, this is the way in which the complete development of the ecosystem will be there, and this is the development in the pond itself. Now, as far as this succession is concerned, look at these stages. Pioneer community is the phytoplankton stage, in which the very small plant organisms, unicellular organisms or algae are there, bacteria are there, which will be developing the life into the water body. That is called as the pioneer community. Second serial community is a rooted submerged one, like Hydrilla, Vallisneria. These are the rooted submerged. They are completely under the water surface. Rooted floating stage is the next stage. Rooted floating stage is giving you the plant like Nymphia, Trappa, Lemna, Olphia. They are having the growth above the water surface. Mind well, these are the rooted floating stage. Means they are the rooted plants. Reed swamp stage, in which kind of a higher level hydrophytes will be developed. And finally, this is the marshy meadow stage. Fifth serial community is the marshy meadow stage, wherein further level of organisms, plants are developed. And last one is woodland, and finally it is the climax community, which is nothing but the forest stage. These all are the stages which are there in the hydrosere. Hydrosere means this is the development of the pond ecosystem into the forest ecosystem. So overall, this is the way in which the complete hydrosphere will develop. Similarly, xerosere will be there. In case of xerosere, this is the development of the vegetation onto the barren land like desert. Here it is the desert land. And in case of the xerosere, there will be first crustose lichen stage, as we have seen in the earlier presentation. Crustose lichen, crustose means that lichens will be growing onto the rock surface. They will develop a foliose. Foliose means leaf-like structure will be developed in case of the lichens. These are the special type of lichens itself. They are the foliose lichens. These foliose lichens will be replaced by sage grass stage. Means Gramineae and Cyperaceae families will be having the members which can grow on a very small layer of the soil that is developed by the foliose lichen. Then these sage grasses will be replaced by herbs, shrubs, and finally the climax community. So overall, this is the only change with the xerosere, that the life will start with the crustose lichen stage and it will be followed by foliose lichen stage. Further, it is the grasses, herbs, shrubs, and trees. So xerosere and the hydrosere are the two examples of the community development. So overall, I think this is giving you an idea about the characteristic features which will be controlling the process of succession, and both of the characteristic features are same in case of hydrosere and the xerosere. I think this has make it clear to you that hydrosere is the development of the ponds into the forest. Xerosere is development of the desert into the forest. So in both the cases, there will be climax community, that is the forest. So thank you very much.